Sophia was a kind woman. She was always ready to help her loved ones, to give advice and support in a difficult moment. She could find a kind word or advice for everyone. And sometimes friends and relatives turned to her for financial help. And since Sophia was a big boss in the past, she had money. She always lent money out of the kindness of her heart, and even sometimes forgot about her debts without asking for anything in return. But as the years went by, Sophia did not get any younger. She retired, her income dropped, and she was short of money. She was not accustomed to refusing help, but she had to hint to her relatives that she was now living on her own. She hinted several times, and then they sort of guessed and gave up on the pensioner. But she continued to give advice and psychological help to her friends and relatives. Her sister, Isabella, and her daughter, Mia, called her especially often. Isabella had recently celebrated an anniversary. It was her 55th birthday. She was the youngest sister, but she felt like she was in her 90s. Sister Sophia was the type of person who was always sick, and when she wasn't sick, she was bound to be. Surprisingly, her daughter, Mia, grew up the same way, always sick and always complaining about life. Sophia was used to her sister having things going on all the time and tried to help. At 55, Isabel looked fresh, but she had been to all the doctors and systematically went to the hospital for any reason. Sophia was responsible for her cat, the flowers on the windowsill, and the apartment when Isabella underwent treatment. And also for her grandchildren, because she didn't have any of her own yet. Her son lived far away and was not in a hurry to please Sophia with grandchildren. That's why her niece often brought her children to Aunt Sophia to stay, and she did not refuse. How not to help if they asked? So this time, Mia brought her son and daughter to visit her aunt, and she went away on business. But towards lunchtime, Sophia's phone rang. Sophia, hello, I'm here with news. So began the conversation between the two sisters. Sophia listened and shook her head, but most importantly, she always took things to heart. My heart is bad. I thought I was going to die, Isabella complained, calling from the hospital. Come and bring me some porridge. The food is so bad. Sophia immediately started to pack a bag, and pierogi and borscht and fruit. She could hardly carry her burden. It was hard to walk with sore legs, and she thought she wouldn't make it. And her sister's grandchildren weren't used to walking so far, but they made it. Oh, how nice to see you, sister. And you brought your grandchildren. Good for you. And the borscht is cold. It's a pity. There's nowhere to heat it. Sophia went to look for a microwave and found one. She was tired, but she didn't say a word to her sister, because she had been having pressure since morning, and her heart was hurting too. Sophia listened to Isabella, fed her, comforted her, gave her gifts to the nurses to take care of her, as well as possible took the children, and went home. In the evening, she received a call from Mia. Aunt Sophia, can you keep the babies? I have to work late. My husband can't handle them alone. Well, if you have to, it's okay, Sophia sighed. She was tired and wanted to have a rest, but with children, she couldn't have a rest. They demanded attention and didn't sleep well on her couch. Sophia didn't get much sleep and called her niece in the morning herself. Mia, hi, it's about the kids. Yes, I remember. My husband is coming over in an hour or two, whatever works out. I'm waiting, Sophia said excitedly. She was hoping to get some rest. Please go and see your mother. Visit her in the hospital. I went yesterday. What happened? She ate everything. They don't feed her well. She needs to get her strength back, Mia said. When you go to feed the cat, bring a pillow. Mommy is very uncomfortable on the bed. Her neck hurts. How am I supposed to carry everything? Take a cab. Aren't you going to your mother's? Sophia asked. It was too expensive to take a cab. No, I'm sick. Mia started listing her ailments and complaining about her life. And she was only 35 years old. Maybe your husband could drive me. He's coming for the children. Or he could visit his mother-in-law himself, Sophia hinted. What are you saying, Aunt Sophia? Would he go to her? He and my mother don't talk to each other. No, not at all. All hope is in you. Sophia sighed. She couldn't refuse her loved ones. She packed a bag, though smaller than the previous one, took a new pillow, bought with her pension for herself, and, handing Mia the children to her husband, walked along the familiar route. She decided she would feed the cat later. It was very hot outside, her legs were swollen, and could barely move, but Sophia persevered and kept walking. A nurse met her at the hospital. "Who are you here to see?" "Mrs. Johnson." Did you know that she..." The nurse didn't have time to finish. Sophia suddenly became dizzy. The bags began to seem unlivable, and there was no more strength in her legs. She nearly collapsed to the floor. Luckily, there was a doctor nearby, and a nurse was there to pick her up. "You, my dear, have a heart problem," said the doctor the next morning. He was making his rounds and came into Sophia's room. "It's good that we caught you in time." "Did you go to register?" he clarified. "No, to see my sister, to visit. I brought bags of food, a pillow, things. I brought everything she asked for." "You should have checked yourself, not carry heavy weights." The doctor started to criticize Sophia. "When did you see a cardiologist?" Sophia shrugged her shoulders. "I don't like to be sick. And anyway, I have to go to my sister's. I brought her a pillow." Sophia realized that the pillow wasn't very comfortable and thought of her sister. "Your sister Isabella?" "Yes. She went home. She asked to go home." "What do you mean, she's got a heart?" "There's nothing wrong with her heart. It's been checked several times. Your sister's as fit as an ox. She just needed a sick day, so she signed up. She told me that in confidence." "You didn't know?" The doctor looked over his glasses. "No. What am I doing? Wasted? I came out here in this heat." "Well, as you can see, not for nothing. You'll heal up. It'll do you good. But you mustn't lift heavy weights. Lie down, rest, and call your relatives and have them bring everything you need. Our food is good, but you'd better bring your utensils. A cup, a spoon, I'm sure you know." Sophia only sighed. She had avoided hospitals and was not prepared for such a turn. But still, she had to obey the doctor. Sophia was a clean woman. She was uncomfortable without a toothbrush and wet wipes with antiseptic in the hospital. She reached for the phone, but Isabella was the first to call. "How are you feeling?" Sophia asked her sister. "Oh, my dear, it couldn't be worse. I thought you'd been discharged." "No, you're not. Where am I going with these tests? You'll be in bed for another week." "I see, but I'm out too. Imagine that. In the same room where you're listed. I brought you a pillow, but for some reason you weren't there. So now I'm lying on the pillow, thinking about you." Sophia was starting to get angry and lied a little. Of course, the ward was different, but the department was the same. She had never complained to her sister about her health, but this time she took offense at her, waiting for an explanation. "Really? No way, and I had asked off for the weekend." Isabella realized there was no point in lying to her sister. "Well, you're better off, and I need a towel, a cup, a spoon, slippers. Who would bring me?" "Take my spoon. It's in the drawer by the window. I'll bring the towel and everything else on Monday. You'll get through the day without it." "Oh, how could you do that? Who's gonna feed my cat while I'm in the hospital?" "We'll water the flowers. It's so hot that everything will dry up." Isabella was upset. Sophia said nothing to her sister. She'd only sighed. Then she called a few friends, but they had urgent matters of their own. And she suddenly realized that no one needed her. That her kindness was convenient for everyone to use, but when it came time to repay the debt, no one responded. No, of course, everyone empathized and gave advice and encouragement, but no one offered their help. Sophia put her phone away and looked out the window. She remembered how much good she had done for people, and a tear rolled down her cheek. She didn't blame anyone. She just felt sorry for herself, a lonely, unwanted old woman. She would have cried like that if she hadn't heard a knock on the door. Sophia turned around and couldn't believe her eyes. When Sophia despaired and decided no one needed her, a man entered the room. She turned around and saw her son on the doorstep. "Son, you're here?" She couldn't believe her eyes. Sophia hadn't complained to her son about being sick. She hadn't told him that she had been hospitalized so suddenly. and she couldn't imagine that he would come from another city to visit her. It was like a dream. "Mammy, are you okay? I got on the first flight." He came up to her and hugged her. "How did you know?" "I called you and the nurse answered the phone and said you were hospitalized. I was so scared." "Yes, I was a little out of it," Sophia said, embarrassed, remembering the fainting spell. "But everything is fine now, son," she smiled. "You tell me what you need and I'll get it for you. There's a store nearby. You feel better, don't you?" The son looked at his mother, stroking her hand, and Sophia realized that she had raised him right. He had grown up to be a real man, and she didn't want to worry him and tell him what had happened. "Thank you, son. It's good to see you. I'll be on the mend in no time." Sophia recovered. Her son's support gave her strength. Isabella, on the other hand, continued to moan and complain, exploiting her nephew, who had taken time off work to care for his mother. But Sophia was quick enough to quash her attempts by sending her son home. "It's okay. Go work. Mom can handle it," she smiled. "Okay, but promise me you'll come visit. We have such a gorgeous park near the house," said the son, and Sophia nodded. Everything fell into place. Her friends started calling again, telling her about the news, but usually negative. For some reason, no one wanted to share their joy with Sophia. Everyone perceived her as a vest. But after what happened, she concluded and decided to follow the doctor's advice. "You need more positivity, Sophia, and less worries," he hinted as he stamped her discharge. Sophia thought about it, then packed her things and went to her son's house to visit, stay, and meet his fiancée. The son was glad. He had been asking his mom to visit for a long time. And with his future wife, Sophia had developed quite a warm relationship. Therefore, when Sophia began to get ready to go home, they did not want to let her go. And so, when she had already packed her suitcase, her phone rang. Seeing her sister's number, Sophia dropped the call. She figured she would call back later. But when she saw the incoming one from Mia, Sophia was afraid that something had happened between them and decided to pick up the phone after all. "Yes, speaking." "Aunt Sophia, are you okay? We're in the middle of something." "Something's wrong with your mother." "Yes, can you imagine? Her cat is sick. She can't sleep at night. She doesn't know what to do. She's been to all the clinics, and she can't be worried. She's going to the hospital next week with her knee." Mia began to tell Sophia all the hardships of her life. She talked about how the kids brought the flu home from daycare, how her husband broke the headlight on their car, and complained about how bad they felt that Sophia had gone to her son's house at such a difficult time for their family. "Stop. Enough, Mia. Enough details. I get it. Nothing has changed for you. Everything's the same as usual. Everyone is alive, but not well." "Aunt Sophia, so what?" "Here's what, my daughter. Don't call me anymore." "What do you mean?" "Don't call me with your problems. And don't call me with bad news either. My doctor told me I needed to be more positive. So if anything good happens, please don't hesitate to call. I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, tell your mom I can't sit with her cat anymore because I still have my own life to live." "So you're not coming back?" Mia wondered. "Maybe I will, but I can't say anything concrete yet." "Well, Mia, I don't have time for this. I'm going for a walk. There's a beautiful park nearby. Clean air, pine trees, and a lake with swans," Sophia said and dropped the call. "Do you support her decision, or did she act harshly with her niece?"